All right. Hey, Jabbers, welcome back to another episode. Today, we're talking to Jordan Dukehart all about how she created a wedding business that supports other wedding pros as a wedding day concierge. And what you're about to hear might blow your mind because we're going to talk about it on a few aspects, both if you're a wedding pro thinking, hey, this sounds like a business I might want to run, or you might be a wedding pro being like, oh my God, I need her help. I need to talk to her. So I cannot wait for you to hear Jordan on this episode.
But first, I'm going to do a little bio intro. Jordan is the founder and heart behind Duke Concierge, specializing in high level event consulting, business systems, and on site staffing and support that create effortless client experiences. With a background in production, operations, and vendor and venue management, Jordan blends strategy with a grounded, I've got you, which we love to hear, type of presence that teams trust. Known for calm command, organized precision, and a client first approach, she helps event pros elevate their workflow, strengthen their sales process, and deliver seamless events from start to finish. Welcome, Jordan.
Wow, I don't think I've ever heard anyone read that. Oh my goodness. I've
You
like read
wrote
it to
it, but
myself,
yeah,
but
you wrote it, but we're just hyping you up. It's the way, it's the delivery.
look at that.
Uh,
Okay, you have to tell us in your own words, like this is amazing on paper, but tell us in your own words, like what does a wedding day concierge actually do, and how did this business idea come about for you?
Well, first off, I have to say one of the first things is that I don't get me wrong, I love brides, I love grooms, I love their families, but being in the roles I've been in the past, I love working with business to business. Like I love supporting planners, I especially in venue management. I got to know a lot of people, I've built a lot of relationships. And for me, when I stepped out of hotelier world, I was like, I just don't think that consistently being that person. And as planners yourselves, you become a therapist. And like, I, pardon my language, but I have my own shit to like deal with. Like,
Yes.
I love y'all, but like, I don't want to always be your therapist along the way. And so for me, it was like, how can I be? I understand all of these things and coming from all of these backgrounds, how do I support the planners? Because everyone's difficulty is bandwidth.
Mm.
You need to be everywhere, you have to answer everything, and no one feels like they have all of the things or can't do all of the things. So, how can I support them while supporting myself? Is truly how this came about. I started talking to a bunch of the planners I had relationships with, and I said, I have this idea. I had pitched it at the Sage, actually, one of the conferences, and we were all sitting in a pool, and I was like, I just want to help people build. And I want to tell hotels to stop putting in gross carpets. Like, how do I do that?
Amen.
And, and someone looked at me and said, well, what would a middle-aged white man do? And I said, what? Like, what are you talking about? And they were like, tell me, what would a middle-aged white man do? And I said, well, they just do it. And they were like, okay, there you go. And I was like, I don't like this, but I get where you're coming from. So that's really how it came about is I just started asking people like I have this idea if I was able to support on both the back end and the front end or wherever it's needed, would that help support you? And planners were like, oh my gosh, like if you were the person that I could call to be on site with me, or if you were the person that I could do X, Y, and Z with, or can help support me on the back end, I would do it. And I was like, okay, I think I'm going to do it. How does this business name sound? To concierge. And that's kind of truly how it came about. Like it was just a let me put it out in the world and see what happens.
I love that. You just like had a calling, but also like a conversation with someone who's like, yeah, you should do this. And I like kind of was like, yeah, you're right. I should do this. Jordan, were you ever a wedding planner? Like, did you ever have your own business doing wedding planning? Did you say that?
Very, very minutely.
Okay.
It was while I lived in Chattanooga. I was still in my 20s. I was working for a catering company. and I was doing wedding planning on the side, and I connected it with their business. But when I left their business, I kind of had maybe 2 or 3 clients that I went back to chat for when I moved back here. But after that, I kind of just dissolved it. Like, didn't put it into an LLC. It was very back end, but we had a lot of clients coming to us who just didn't have someone to help them.
Mm-hmm.
And it made it a lot easier since I was already supporting them on one end to just add this in. But it didn't ever like launch into its own full brand or anything like that.
I mean, I love this concept, this business concept, because I only know one other person here. I'm in LA and I only know one person who like solely assists wedding planners on the day of. And how this whole thing came about of like chatting with you, because Gabby was like, I know someone like that too. And we were both just so fascinated by this.
Yeah.
Because it's something we truly need, but like I don't hear of a lot of people just doing this because they usually are like, I want to start my own business and I want to be in charge of the clients and the design and all of that kind of stuff. But Jordan, I'm curious, what does a typical wedding day look like for you from like arrival on site to teardown? How are you showing up for these planners?
I don't necessarily feel like there's a typical, which is a part of the reason it serves my ADHD brain very well. Because there are days where it's very, like, all of it is very ebb and flow, and it is very dependent per what I'm doing per the client. So some people I'm very much supporting production and execution. I'm being their right hand, and maybe I've come in and supported a whole weekend, while others I am there just on the front end and I leave after ceremony because everything's already set and their other girls can finish the day. Um, in the last few months, there's been a few who have said, hey, I need your support. I'm not available. But then I've staffed for them with people that I have helped and like that I have worked with multiple times. And so there's this kind of connection side of the business that has kind of just organically built itself where people will reach out to me because I'm not going to put anyone on site that isn't up to my standard either. And that's usually what people are looking for if they're reaching out to me anyway. Just someone who knows all sides of the day. And I help an entertainment company sell. So I hear the woes of a DJ, but then I also very much know how the woes of the DJ are like the planner side. You're like, I don't necessarily care about that. So there's this like weird balance that I have because I have seen a lot of different sides of all the vendor
I feel like
experiences.
you have all the insider knowledge, like the secrets.
Yes.
Everyone like talks about what their woes are with each other, like each vendor.
There's a lot of little secrets in my back pocket from being on the hotel side, being in a
Right.
catering company. 10 months in my past, I was in a kitchen, not the place for me, but I was in it. And so there are little secrets in my back pocket that I have, and that just help kind of manage the day a little bit better when people do have me on their team.
But
Yeah.
that makes you a huge asset to a team because of all of these different industries or all of these parts of the industry that you've tapped into. Do planners reserve you ahead of time? For example, like if they know are some of them using you as one of their leads and or lead assistant and stuff like that? Or do you typically come onto a project last minute in more of like, oh my God, my team, my core team isn't available. I need some help.
Both. There are planners that have put me as the first person if they book an event to call, and I reserve that day for them. There are other planners who it's like, hey, I have this. I thought we were cool. Now I look at it and we're not, and I need like an additional support that's a different level. And so it definitely happens on both ends. Um, and that's actually how organically the staffing side of it came about because I was like, no, I may not have this, but I might know someone. And there's always kind of been some people because I get those outreaches who said, well, if you have any extra, just let me know, or if you have this. And it just, yeah, it just came, it built itself.
Well, and that feels Yeah, and that feels like the natural next step for you. Like you're only one person. If you build this amazing brand and service for wedding planners and now word spreads and they want you, but you can only be, and you're in Nashville, wedding season is we don't have anything happening in July for the most part. So if everyone's cramming their weddings in May and in September, October,
Yeah.
you're probably getting a lot of demand during that time. So it makes sense for you to build a team. And it makes sense for the planner who's hiring to just have you as a point of contact and trust that you've trained your team,
Hmm.
with the knowledge that you have, the expectation. And so when they know they're going to hire from Duke Concierge, they have a certain level of expectation. If it's not you, it's someone else, but you've trained them to that standard. So I imagine is that something newer that you've been doing or you've been offering team stuff for a while?
No, it's something newer, the fall specifically.
Oh,
That is
great. Yeah.
everyone's busy time. And I had a lot of last minute outreach or a lot of people being like, hey, can you find someone for me? I've asked everyone, I don't know. I'll send you a referral fee. And I was like, I don't know how to pay for this or I don't know how to charge for this, but let me figure it out. And now in the last month, I've kind of been like, okay, I have my core people. I feel like I've played
Mhm.
with it and tested it enough. Now is time to be like, okay, this does take a bit of my time, so let me launch it. But also, the same has kind of happened for when I started my business. I started it as virtual assistants
Mm.
and supporting people on the back end because I knew the front end and doing just on site wasn't going to financially support me. So that has kind of started being something that I've probably more like August, September, I started separating myself from, and I try and do my best to freelance that out. Just because I created this, just as anyone creates a business for more flexibility, and having anything where I am like locked into this time and this time doesn't necessarily support that as much anymore. So yeah, I freelance. I do a lot of little like if it's a project basis and I'm busy, I'll freelance it out. But then my eyes always go back on it before it gets sent anywhere so that I can adjust and shift.
But that's so fun because it's like we talk about our squirrel brains, right, Carrie? And I feel like
Hmm.
if we just got to do all these different things, we would have maybe more fun than doing the same job each time.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And I think
Uh,
that there in this industry, there's a bit of everyone having
yeah.
110% of ADHD. Like, I want to focus on what I want to focus on and then move on with the rest.
Yeah.
Jordan, do you have, so I guess I'm curious, like, let's say you're working with a planner and I guess in more ways than one, not just like on site, day of type of stuff, but you're helping with, I think you mentioned sales earlier, like business consulting and business systems. How, I guess, like, how do you find that balance of like, okay, I'm going to help this planner fill all the gaps that she needs and this planner, and like, I guess finding that balance and not taking on too much because you're helping them with more than just an on-site day of help.
We're still working on it, quite frankly. No, truly we are. Like I am still working on that. I definitely, being a newer business, so I've only been in business for about a year and a half now. So I feel like that first one, you're just pedaling. You're just trying to figure out like what is it that works, and when you have taken on too much, who is it that you can trust, or how have you trained people? So I'm finally in this moment where okay, I've trained people. I feel like I've gotten it. I have my certain people I reach out to for back end support, and I have certain people I reach out to for on site support. And they're not the same. But that's even more interesting in the fact that a lot of my planners, if they reach out to me for back end support, there are maybe two or three that have ever come through as on site because some of my back end support are people out of Atlanta, or people out of New York, or
Mm,
people out of
mhm.
other spots. And so I'm not physically there to consistently do anything with them. Every now and then
Gotcha.
they'll ask me to travel, but it's not as often because obviously that's more of a labor expense
Sure.
for them. So it doesn't financially make sense. Um, on the sales and support side, most of that I do because I have been the one to end up building their SOPs. So when I built
Mhm.
them, now it's just functioning for me in the
Yeah.
background. where I can be like, here, click this, make sure that, it's client facing, it's client support. And there's always a side of sales for me personally, because that's such a heavy background that I come from, where you always have the, yes, I locked it in moment, that like, yeah. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't necessarily want to get rid of it myself. But it is very much learning limit it's quality over quantity.
Mm.
And I do feel that a lot of planners have those moments too, where that's when they start scaling down and they say, we are here for wedding weekends, and those same planners are typically percentage planners, and
Yeah.
we are there for, this, that, and the other, and that's what we want to focus on. And I feel like the number that I hear more often than not from people is like 10 weddings, 10 to 12 weddings, and that's it for the year.
Mhm.
So in this side of it, it is definitely not 10 to 12 weddings for me, but it is a quality over quantity on who do we work well with? Did this work after? And kind of having that reflection moment to say, I can go back to them or I can't. And things are going to shift. There have been some people who, you know, that first year again, you go in and people have you put on the schedule, but then as their items shift and change, they might try and take you off. But I've had to put a little bit more of a SOP in place for me and saying, I am still a full functioning business. And if you have me saving a date, there is going to be a contract and
Yeah.
a very
Yeah.
small deposit that comes with
Right.
that. I'm not asking for something
Yeah.
huge, but it's
Right.
$100 or less, depending on what you need us for. And you are locked in at this point
Right.
because we are budgeting for that just as everyone else is budgeting for that. So it is a little bit different than freelancers and just the open assistance you can call upon. So that is why a lot of it changes, I feel like, more often than not.
I-
Um,
Yeah, I have a quick follow-up to that because I'm curious
yeah,
like how that interview process goes, right? Because most planners are like, I need to find someone that's reliable, etc. But also you are like, I need to work with someone that I'm gonna mesh well with. So I'm curious if it is more of an interview on their side or if you're also like equally kind of, I mean, I use the word interview, but like, kind of vetting of like, is this a planner I want to work with? Like that we're gonna take on in our business as well.
I definitely feel that anyone who is a first time, I have experienced them on some sort of a level, because there have been a couple of florists that I've supported here and there. And so some of the planners who I've reached out to or we've interlocked and I have sent people to them before I've had the chance, it's because I've only worked with them and seen them on site. But if anyone is new, that first time, I am 90% of the time always the person that will work with them first, because I need to experience on site. So I
Sure.
feel that interview processes actually is usually more the planner working with me and interviewing me. And I definitely will ask questions, but it's until you see it on site.
Yeah,
An interview process and on site are two totally different humans
for sure.
sometimes.
For
Well,
sure.
and I think the deposit is brilliant because, well, one, it protects you. Like you said, you're a legit business. And two, I've had assistants bail. I've sent
Mhm.
emails just this year. I sent an email being like, okay, great. Here's all the info. See you next week. Crickets. Followed up, crickets. I'm like, what in the world? And the person never answers. So then I'm scrambling. But knowing that I
Right.
paid a deposit to a legit business, knowing that I'm going to get the support that was promised months ago makes me feel a lot better.
Hmm.
And even if that means my core team is available after all, I might just bring an extra person just so that I can like spend time getting social media content, or, it doesn't hurt to have the extra hands. So yeah, I think that goes both ways on how your deposit protects you, but protects the planner or florist or whoever is hiring you too.
Right. And I think I mean, that is kind of how I played it too. It's again a lot because a lot of my clients actually were relationships first.
Mhm.
It helps me in the sense that I can be like, hey, if I were to do this, is that crazy from your business perspective? Because I know what I'm doing is a very new concept. And so I don't want to just launch something and then lose people because it doesn't work. So a lot of what I feel that I'm doing is the knowledge of a business background and the knowledge of, a sales background and things of that nature, but at the same time making sure that it makes sense for planners or whomever the vendor is as well, because there has to be that level of balance for everyone, that they're walking into a person where they feel secure and they feel like they have trust, and that it's not as many questions and more of like just a solid, I know it's handled,
Yeah.
Mhm.
while also making sure it's not financially busting them either. Because there's no reason that they would hire someone like me if it doesn't financially make sense too. I mean, budget is budget at the end of the day for everyone.
Right.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Um, okay, so Jordan, if someone is listening to this and they're thinking they're actually interested in maybe starting a similar type of concierge service in their area, what do you think is a good personality type or skill set that someone would need to thrive in a support role? And I say this because, like Kari said earlier, there is also a certain level of ego that comes with owning your own business, right? And there's unfortunately sometimes a little cattiness, and there's some, um, I hate to say the word abuse, but like poor treatment
Sure.
of support staff. And we see that in catering, we see that in all sorts of different things. And I've seen that from lead planner to assistants, and I hate that. But what do you think who would thrive in a support role?
It's a type AB personality type, if I'm being honest, because you have to be type A enough to have it in line, know that you're organized, know that you're checking off everything that needs to be checked off. But at the same time, for me, a lot of my type B-ness is that things like this, I don't mind a podcast, but if we were doing this live, oh my gosh, I'd be like crapping myself on the inside. Like it would not be great. Like even when I have to, I've been the director of sponsorship for WIPA for the past 2 years, and I'm finally to the point of rolling off. But this year, there was a few times where I had to speak and I had to have the mic, and inside I was like, oh my gosh, like how did I sign up for this again? Did I just do what I do and just say, oh yeah, sure, that's fine, whatever, and then really think about it later? So for me, it is very much, I prefer behind the scenes. I prefer to mesh with the vendors and all of that. And if the bride and groom need me, great. Like tell me they need me and I'll be there. But for the most part, I don't want to be the person that is spoke, spoken of or anything like that. If they have the mic, it's very sweet, but like it's just not what I need. I don't like being center of attention. And I do feel that a lot of times when people assist people, they want the acknowledgement and the thank you from them. The acknowledgement and the thank you from a planner or whomever. That is perfectly great for me. Outside of that, I am good. I don't need the rest.
Yeah.
And so it is very much, I feel that's when people choose to start their own businesses, they want the acknowledgement, they want to know that it is them and their name on it. And for me, I just don't need that. I've learned so much from various planners that I've worked with. I've learned things to do, I've learned things not to do. Especially with travel planners, there's a lot of people I've come in and I've been the feet on the ground here for them because they're traveling and they
Yeah.
need support. But how their market works is also very different. The Nashville market, I have such an admiration for it because it is so different
Hmm.
than so many other markets. There is the cattiness and there are those things, but there's so much. And I feel the majority of us who look at it and is like, if we work together, this day is going to be great,
Yeah.
rather than the back end where it's like a shuffle and always trying to like who's the bigger hunt, like I've
Hmm.
gone into those markets and it's fine, but like it doesn't make the day as camaraderie and enjoyable as the market that is here. And that is coming from someone who started in a different market and moved their way here. And I was a no name when I moved here. People had no idea who I was. They were not giving me an opportunity or a chance. And so that's how I got more into the sales and out of catering and into a different side of it than I was. But here it very much is like, you let the photographer, if you trust them, do what they do.
Yeah.
You let, paper goods do what they do. Everyone kind of meshes into the day, and it's a really great moment and team effort than just one person.
I mean, I think Gabby and I talk about that all the time. Like, why are people like making it about themselves? Like, this is a team effort, a collaboration to like make this day amazing for our clients, for our couples. And yes, like at the end of the day, we need stuff for marketing and for our business, but like this is about them. It's not about us. So I've never understood the cattiness or like the not working as a team, but I love hearing that you're like, let's
Like,
keep this a team effort. Like we're all here
yeah.
together to make this happen.
And it just makes it more like this is our job. Yes, it's fun. Yes, it's stressful. Yes, there's a lot of responsibility on us. But as a generality, like, we do this because we enjoy it. So if the cattiness is there, you make it harder for everyone. And it makes us not enjoy our jobs. And we all started a business because we enjoy our jobs and we enjoy what we do.
Mhm. Okay, so Jordan, I have to ask something because we noticed you don't have a website. So how do you get business?
Most of my business comes from referrals, a lot of word of mouth, Instagram, people just seeing that I'm tagged in different
Mm.
people's stuff. And they're like, who is this? How is this there? And
And how are they tagging you?
actually,
Like, what's your title?
more often than not, it's either on-site support or
Okay.
assistance.
Okay.
And then they tag
Okay.
me like that. Other times I just become a collaborator and I may not be tagged in like the vendor list, but I'm a collaborator for the day. Um, One thing in 2026, we'll say here to keep me accountable. I've already told a lot of my clients that like I will publish them and do client highlights. And so it's like I will say, whatever, this was such a great day. We enjoyed this concept, blah, blah, blah. I love supporting the weekend and do a client highlight for whomever that is. Because there are
Fun.
now a lot of planners that I have done every wedding with them on now for the year. So it just, yeah, it makes it easier that way,
Yeah.
I think.
Word of mouth. That's awesome. Do you have plans to put up a website?
It is there. It is actually coming soon. Landing page.
Okay.
My email still goes through the domain, all of that.
Yeah.
I just need to actually focus on it. And I actually had one of my freelancers doing it. So it's like pretty much there, but in the process of the fall and adding the connection side of my business is what I call the staffing side.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I realized I needed to figure that out before I published again because then it would just be updating it all over again.
Mm.
So it felt a little silly to finish off when we had that downtime. So it'll come
Amazing.
eventually.
Yeah.
Well, it's obviously working for you without one, so no rush.
The coming soon landing page has an inquiry aspect and
There you go.
it does still reach out to me that way.
That's all you
Just
need.
doesn't detail what I do per se.
I love it. Okay, how do you structure your pricing? Because you if you want to share exactly you can, or you can just give us your thoughts behind this. But we you want to make sure that you're a business. You are sharing both your time and your expertise because you're also doing obviously front of house kind of stuff, on-site stuff. You're possibly even advising almost as like an operations person if you're doing
Mhm.
SOPs, all that kind of stuff. Are those all priced the same? Are there packages? And then if someone is looking to do more day of support, what are some mistakes that they're making with their pricing? Because I will say, like when I hire assistants, the prices are all over the place. And it's very hard to know what the going rate is because like Carrie in LA is a very different price point, in my opinion, than us in the South. And different markets, different things. But I just love to hear your thoughts on that because you're in it.
Not only kind of when I started, I actually took my salary and I backed it up. And so I broke it down and said, okay, I know this sustains me. So how do I break it down per 12 months, per week, per hour? How does this break down when I detail it that way? So that's kind of how I built my minimum. My like most minimum that I will go to is 30. That is like the bottom line. So that is actually higher than market here in Nashville. I feel that market it's probably a little it's almost hitting max on certain certain businesses. I think that it levels it out for some, but I explain it in a way that you're just getting something different. You know,
Yeah.
there's a lot of people, again, who I do come in for the weekend as their second, and the team is kind of answering to me. But then there's other people who already have a second, and I'm coming in to support
Mm-hmm.
the team.
Mm-hmm.
So it does vary. There are a few people that might be under, but that's just like from like long term relationship and knowing that when they come in, we're honestly like just goofing around half the day because everything gets done too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's a mix in there for some, but it's very, very few, like maybe two that have that. But that's just from supporting them for a very long-term time because I was still assisting even I was a little psychotic but even when I was in the hotelier world, I was still assisting people. When I had a weekend free, that didn't allow me to have any weekends free, but I just wanted to be out. I was stuck in one building all the time. And so I wanted to be out. I wanted to experience other venues and how they work and
Yeah.
how it was with other planners. But essentially, how I base it now is I am talking because vendor, every event pro needs something different.
Mm.
So there have been some photographers while they've been on maternity leave, I've supported them and answered their inquiries. That's a different price on if I'm going in and needing to do a package or something of that nature that is building their SOPs or building their honeybook systems and processes. That side of it is more of a breakdown of here is our time frame and here's what the cost is
Mm-hmm.
in that time frame. So it's more of a package rate.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are others who I'm just do a retainer per month. So if I've helped support a venue in knowing that like, hey, these are my couple days of doing a tour and be on site for those. I'll answer any of those inquiries and handle those from start to finish. Here's my retainer per month. So a lot of it, I have to kind of look back and say, oh, this is the time that it takes me. One of the planners that I support is Social Bliss Events, Sarah Patton. She told me almost from the beginning, you need to track your time. Well, when I was doing virtual assistance was great to track time because you had to be able to turn that in and say, like, here is the end of day report or any of that. But it has actually turned into an even better scenario because then I was able to say, here is what my time is worth by the
Mm.
hour.
Yeah.
And then when I'm building those packages and knowing that this is my breakdown per hour, then that also helps to know if I know that this is my hours that I'm allotting for everyone and this is how many clients I have, I'm at my max
Yeah.
and I can't add anyone and you can go on a wait list until X, Y, and Z. So there are in that if every now and then I'll get project basis clients.
Mhm.
And that tells me, hey, I have the capacity for it or I don't have the capacity for it right now. But that's also how I learned to tap into freelancers too.
Yeah.
Well, and I was just going to say last thing about this. I think you can be a huge advocate for assistance because um, not only could I'm even thinking like planners could send their assistants to you for a training, like if they're getting green, people coming in for training, but also if someone like I get DMs sometimes from people saying, I want to get into wedding planning. What should I do? And I always tell them, like, you've got to go assist for at least a year. Like, go assist and learn what you like and don't like. And you could be
Yeah.
a resource for them because I'm not in a position to tell them what they should charge because it's going to be based off experience. If they're coming in fresh, like, I'm spending my time training you, so you should be paying me. But nevertheless, I also think if we had more conversations about going rates for assistance in our market, planners could learn to price accordingly. Because don't come to me with your $1,000 planning package and paying your assistants $8 an hour. Like, get out of town. So it's kind of like we need to all raise this together. If we want to be paying assistants $30 an hour, which is bare minimum in LA,
Yeah.
um, we cannot unfortunately be charging $2,000 packages. So that goes into the education piece of the planners, the assistants, and then the clients. And the clients have to realize a wedding is a luxury, no matter how big or small you make it. It is a luxury type of experience that you get to have that's not mandatory necessarily in your life. And you
There's
have
a
to
courthouse.
right. No, exactly. You could do it cheap at the courthouse. So, yeah, so you have to accept the price points that these vendors are sharing with you and not go back and complain. Kari just wrote an article about this on Substack about the whole wedding tax and everybody complaining about how anytime they say the word wedding, it's more expensive because it is, because it costs a lot of money to employ people and to do marketing and all this other stuff. So anyway, I'll get off my soapbox, but it just brought me to a point where I'm like, oh, someone like Jordan could really be an educator in that space. I know you don't like speaking on stage, but should you want to do that, I feel like that could be a really great topic for you.
I do feel like it's becoming some sort of a trajectory of like do this and start getting used to it. Because even for that, I have the entertainment company that I help support. They have asked me to come in and do a essentially an etiquette, like what is a DJ etiquette that should happen from a planner
Oh,
perspective
we
and
love
someone
that.
who's supporting the day. And it's making sure, we've all had it. We've all had those moments where people will come in and say, like, they'll have a DJ, they'll have this, they'll have whatever, and they'll just make a sly comment, or they'll be like, yeah, delivery driver saying whatever, and you're like, oh yeah, okay, great, but like, I'm here to work. I don't want to deal with all of that. And so even those moments, or a band, eat all the food. Like that's great, but like I've been here for 14 hours. I'm hungry too. So there are different things I think for every vendor that is just a helpful etiquette at the end of the day, and like learning the perspective of all the people and all the how it all functions together as one. Um, so yeah, I do think that
That
there is
that is
some sort of
genius.
a
Like an
way.
etiquette class by Jordan. Because I mean, even if you could go into catering companies and teach wait staff how to properly set a table, like it would save me so much time. I was telling Gabby recently,
100%.
like I complain all the time about. Granted, I know wait staff sometimes is rotating through catering companies or a random person
Yeah.
they hired, but sometimes I'm like they like throw things on the table like it just doesn't matter. Like we're
Yeah.
at a diner and I have to go around and
100%.
fix it. So, but I love that idea of just like, here's proper etiquette for a wedding day.
Mhm. Well, and I think something that a lot of people don't really actually know about me is that when I did start in this world, I started as a cater waiter in college. I knew very early on this was the world I kind of wanted to get into. I enjoyed it when I was always planning something, or I always ended up being like the mom of the friend group because everyone looked at me to make the plan. And so I was like, how do I get into this? But I need to make money. I'm in college. So I started as a cater waiter. And it was a husband wife duo. She made the most incredible food. Like there are certain things to this day I still wish I had access to. But it taught me a lot. And then I ended up building a position with them that was a kind of admin assistant position. And then that's when I built my business at, or my planning business after, and then dissolved it and left them, and then came to Nashville, back to Nashville. So out of like, I think the 7 years I was there, I was with them for about five of them and a little bit past that. So it was an experience to kind of work myself from the bottom to come up. So I have the knowledge of all of these. I've even had situations where most hotelier staff, they are Arabic of some sort. And recently I was giving a tour to a Arabic family, and they were talking in front of me and using their language, and I would respond. And they were like, how do you know? They looked at me and they were like, how do you know what we're saying? And I was like, well, I worked with teams for multiple years and they taught me the language. I'm not going to sit here and say I know everything that you're talking about, but in a generality, I know what direction you're going on what you're saying. So I'm able to come back. But if you just ask me this question, I can make it happen, and or I can make them answer. And so I feel like there are a lot of times where I have been in those scenarios because of whether it be the wait staff or whether it be the kitchen staff. A lot of them are Latino that people bring in. And so I cannot speak Spanish. Don't sit there and say that I can, but I know the concepts of what they're talking about because I've been around it.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's so important to like work in other roles. Gabby, you even sometimes work or used to work with a catering company.
Still do.
I think it's like such a good learning experience because you're like, oh, I can fully understand this side of things and then figure out how to support that vendor more or just like run things logistically. And so I'm wondering, Jordan, is this a key quality for you of why planners or venues, people continue to bring you back again and again, of like you kind of understand all of the moving parts of a wedding day?
100%. I know the moving parts. I have built trust with them all. All of them. A lot of my clientele is relationships that I've had from venue to venue. Even when I left the country club I was at, it wasn't the most beautiful country club, but we still sold things. And I moved those clients over to the hotel. And in the hotel, I expanded my relationships times 10. And then they would kind of be like, oh, well, we really enjoy this. And, we've enjoyed working with you. And then when I left, I just started kind of being like, hey, I can support you on site. And for that time period, we were going into fall, so some people needed it, but some people were already booked. So it really took until I would say the beginning of this year or so to actually get on everyone's books. But they knew when they had me come in that they had someone that understood all sides and that wouldn't ask more questions, but just handle it. I can't tell you the amount of times we had something going awry on site and I would throw someone my keys and just say, hey, this is what we need, go and grab it. And I wouldn't ask for permission. And then the planner would come up and be like, where's so and so? And I'm like, oh, well, I just sent them out to get something we needed. So sorry. And just make a decision instead. Because at the end of the day, whatever makes it happen is what has to happen.
But that part, okay, so to me, I would love that because my biggest challenge with assistants is the let's say the newer assistants is their lack, it comes with confidence, but the lack of confidence and the ability to read my mind. Shocking. I know. How do they not read my mind? But an experienced person who knows the flow of the day can think a few steps ahead. And the biggest things with lead wedding planners is the amount of questions we get in a single day. And I said to myself, I'm going to bring a step like those click counters, and I'm going to do it at a wedding. And every time I'm asked a question, I'm going to click it because I want to know. It has to be hundreds of questions. So if first of all vendors can be prepared and read the timeline, I digress. We talked about that a million times. But
read the final email.
Yes, please, 2026, that's my dream for all of us. But if assistants can be proactive, read the timeline and say, okay, look, I see that in 30 minutes it says we need to light candles. I'm going to handle this. Like, I'm going to get ahead of it. I'm going to grab some lighters, like stuff like that, where we don't have to continue to make decisions throughout the day, but we have a team that feels empowered. Now, with that, also the lead planner has to explain, has to give the information to the team. They cannot hold all the information and say, oh, yeah, I know all of it. It's whole timelines in my head. I don't have a timeline for you. Like, you have to share that information and give your team permission to make these decisions. But I think that is like the ideal assistant is someone that's proactive, that's confident, or that does ask the question if they're really, really not sure. But I prefer to be like, whatever decision you make will surely not be detrimental to the day. So go for it.
Yeah, it's taking the initiative.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say so.
Well,
Okay,
and
Jordan. Oh,
I like that you said you had to hand off the information because there have been some people that I've come into the day. I don't have a timeline. I've not
yeah.
seen it ahead of time. I don't have a layout. I
Oh
don't
my
have
gosh.
anything. And I'm like, I'm ready to help you, but I can't help you if I don't know the information. And you're telling them that I'm your right hand, but we're not having the
Mm-mm.
clarity as a team to come together that I'm your right hand. So when I say something, people look at me like I'm insane for telling them what to do. But the conversation lead and I have had versus the conversation that the team has
Mm-hmm.
had with that lead aren't the same. So there is definitely a level of setting it up for success to make that work. But once that has happened and once you are walking in, I can't tell you how many times when I have been the lead or even not the lead, but have a lead planner in that final email saying, hey, this is actually your vendor point of contact for the day. I will be focusing on the bride and groom.
Mm-hmm.
I'm separating those two moments to where, hey, there's a behind the scenes person and all the
Mm-hmm.
vendors need to call them. Because when you're not, you're having a conversation with the mother of the bride and your phone's just already rang 3 times with 4 other text messages. And you're like, I don't know what to do. And I find that that's when most leads get incredibly overwhelmed because they feel like they're falling short. And no one
Mm-hmm.
on a wedding day wants to feel like they're falling short.
Right.
So when you build the team behind you, but you also set it up for success behind you, that's when it doesn't have a problem.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, as we're wrapping up, a few more questions here. As I know, we could talk forever, I swear. There's so much I want to ask, but Uh, you're probably being pulled in a billion directions in the day, and especially in this scenario where you're not given the right information, you have to go and find it. You have to answer questions. You have to try to set up and read minds and all this kind of stuff. How do you set your boundaries? Like, especially in that scenario where you're not given the information, like at what point? You can only do so much, right? So, how do you set your boundaries and abide by the contract? Because I think at the core, we're all hospitality driven, people pleasers, for lack of a better term. And you're being employed by someone. So, obviously, you want to do your best for them. But what if they're asking a bunch of stuff that's outside your scope of work? Like, how are you putting your foot down?
For me, I work in a lot of transparency, and that I find is something not everybody does. I would prefer everyone to just be on the same page. And like, if I don't know, I will sit there and be like, I don't know, but let me figure it out. Or, hey, how about you text this person? This is what I feel like they are going to say, but let's just reach out instead. I can't tell you how many times I've said that because, if detailed shots need to be taken or something of that nature. And then you want to turn around and say, like, hey, I'm going to go ahead and throw these salads down. Well, detailed shots haven't been taken. How
Yeah.
about I said, I believe that this planner is going to want it this way, but let's text her and find out first. So there's a lot of moments where I might have to say I don't know if I'm not properly given all of the things on time.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
But at this point, I also would say that most of the people I choose to be on site with are the people that I know like what their answers are going to be. But if it is someone new, there is going to be that transparency where it's like, hey, hold on a minute. Like, I don't think that this is what they're going to want, but
Mhm.
let's find out together first, and then we'll move forward from there. Because at the end of the day, it's always supporting, everyone's goal is to support the bride and groom's vision, period. But if you expand out from that, like, my purpose is not only to support the bride and groom's vision, but that vision is created by the planner. So I need to support the planner's vision. And at no point do I want to answer for them. But there are a lot of questions that some vendors come on site and ask. And it's like, well, this is slightly rhetorical, but sure, I'll still answer it, you know?
Yeah.
So there's a balanced version, I think, in it. I'm not going to say that none of us hit or pass our boundaries at times, just because I think that we all
Yeah.
do.
It's the nature of
Um,
the job.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I think that there's a lot of things that can happen on the front end to set it up properly. We're supporting some of the DMCs in town. I've also learned very, very quickly that I can get information in 24 hours and be fine. So it's not that you have to send it to me a week out or 2 weeks out. And some people that
Hmm.
do that's great, but I probably also won't look at it because I won't remember it.
Hmm.
So I will look at it within probably a week of, and then within 48 to 24 hours, because that's when I'm actually going to like download all the information into my brain that I need to know.
Jordan, I guess, have you had a moment where you're like, they could not have done this without me? Like, you probably had a lot of moments, but what is something that like really stands out for you? Because I feel like that is probably a great thing for you to like know and have so that you can sell to more people of like why you need my services.
Yes. There is one specific wedding. We were up at Swanee, and these planners definitely looked at me when they were like, we couldn't have done it without me and the other person that was there. Like, we all had the understanding. And at the end of the night, we all just like were like, "Whoa, that was rough." But one needed to be at the church, one needed to be at the hotel, one needed to be helping with transportation, and one was with the bride and groom. And though we had thought that the support of catering was there, um, when I had gone to reach out, and I had never, I had never done this in my life, and I was like so nervous to send a text message, but I had to text them and be like, I'm really not sure if this is going to happen. Like, I'm not sure we're going to be ready when you walk in. But again, that comes from someone who just, no
Yeah.
matter if it's been selling or anything, it's transparency of like,
Hmm.
this is what needs to happen. And like, it is a scary moment to have to say like, I don't got it. Like,
Yeah.
me, myself, and I, we don't
Humbling.
have this right now. But it was a moment where it was like, here is what we focus on. But the catering company had looked at me and were like, well, my people are about to be on site for this amount of time, and this is our time to take a break. And I just kind of looked and was like,
Wow.
okay, like, you
Oh
have
my
20 people
gosh.
running around. Can we section this? Like, 10 people here, 10 people there, that would still help me.
Yeah.
But it's, it is those moments where you're like, okay, this taught me a lot. But it also, as a generality, it taught us all as a team, like, this was a moment we probably should have added one more person for the
Hmm.
weekend in
But you
general.
don't know until you're in it, you know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's hard.
Yeah.
That's hard. But you
Hmm.
guys pulled it off. So
Yeah.
kudos to
You
you.
always do. You always
Yeah.
do.
You
You always
always,
make it happen.
that's right. That's right. We do. Okay, to wrap this beautiful conversation up, what is an action that someone could take today if they're interested in becoming a wedding day concierge or support role type of person? Like, how do they jump into it? And like we said earlier, perhaps it's literally someone brand new to the wedding industry that loves the idea of working B2B. And I was saying assist for a year because you won't know, but where would you suggest they start?
Definitely assisting for a year, but I don't even think it's just assisting. I think it's learning all sides. You
Mhm.
can't necessarily step into anything without knowing the scope. So being transparent of, hey, I do have this background or I do have this knowledge, but even from a planner side, like having those SOPs. Like one of the things that I recommended to our company of the entertainment side was this year, is there something that people sign every year to say like, as a reminder, this is what we're about. And I think that that holds true
For their
for
employees?
every,
That's
because I
good.
mean, at the end of
Yeah.
the day, all of our
Yeah.
agents are freelancers.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
it is just reminding, and it's the same side as the planning situation.
yeah.
All of that is the moment of being like, as we go into the new year and we have our training moments, here's the reminder that this is something you don't do. You don't drink on site. You don't, do it from the company. Do we have a meal that's required or do we not? Understand that if
Mhm.
we don't, it is a luxury that that planner added you into the count. So there
Mm,
are moments of just
mhm.
understanding the background, because if you were not a part of the sales process, you don't know what is
Said like in the
been
package.
Yeah.
promised.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
totally.
don't know what's been promised. So
Totally.
having that clarity when you walk in, and I don't think that everyone needs to have like an hour, let's debrief of this, this whole event. You don't need to have that, but you need to have the clarity of what's been promised and what your role is walking into the day.
Mhm.
Love this.
Wow. I think this is like such a cool business model. And I'm curious, Jordan, do you know a lot of other people that offer this type of service? Have you
No,
connected with
not
people?
really. I've connected with some, like here and there, but they're in other markets. And a lot of them I feel like have flipped to where a lot of their stuff is very honeybook focused or,
Mm.
Dubsado focused. And I don't want to do that.
Yeah,
I don't mind helping on those things. And if something that someone is reaching out to me for, saying a system and process and being built, and I feel like maybe it's over me, I will recommend them.
for sure.
But I don't necessarily know anyone who has built it into where it kind of has spiderwebbed a little more, where you can offer virtual assistants and can offer on-site assistants, but made it into a business per se.
Well,
So I
you will
definitely am
be,
walking new territory.
yeah, you will be the leader. I think Gabby's right. You might be an educator in this space as you go. But Jordan, thank you so much for this conversation. This was so fun to learn about your business. And, I mean, Gabby, you're in the Nashville area, so this is great.
Oh,
But
no.
Jordan, can you tell us how people can find you and get connected to work with you?
Not on your
Sure.
website.
Yeah, not on your website.
No, not at all. Not at all. You can. There's an inquiry. It's coming soon, and like there's got like plates and glassware in the background, but it's not. You won't learn anything there. Probably the best thing is Instagram. It's at Duke Concierge, so just Duke. And then email me, which is literally just Jordan, Jordan, at dukeconcierge.com. And I'm always happy to just learn. Again, everything that I do, just as a planner side, is per the need. So it is built strategically by what everyone needs, because what everyone needs and what they excel at is different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love this.
Amazing. Well, thank you so
Yeah.
much, Jordan and Jabbers. We will be back next week. We are, as a reminder, we are in weekly episodes here in 2026. And we will see you guys soon. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Jordan.